Imagine your manager has an important meeting today and she comes to you and asks that I do not want to present this big chunk of data in the meeting. I want you to filter these data as per my conditions. What are you going to do? Welcome back, data folks. In this session, we are going to learn a function called filter function, which will teach you how to filterize the data as per your condition. Because there are chances that you would not want to see the whole data every time. Okay, there will be chances where you want to present the data as per few conditions. In that case, it's not always a good practice to present the whole data and to confuse your audience and to confuse your stakeholders. You have to be well versed with those small functions which will help you filter out the data as per your requirement. So that is the goal of today's video. So let's filter some data. So here is the data that we are going to filter today. And the function that we are going to use is filter, and here is the syntax. Now before we start filtering the data, I want you to understand the syntax properly. Here you see there's no equal to sign before this formula, but all Google Sheets formulas start with an equal to sign. That goes without saying, but I still remind you, I have just removed it because it was causing a problem. Now let's understand the syntax. The first argument goes as range. So what is this range? This range is nothing but the data set that you are going to filter today. So your data starts with A, ends at H. So that from A to H is going to be your data range. Then the second argument you see is about conditions. So basically this formula is very simple and it just has two arguments. One is range, where you are going to select the data set which you are going to filter, and the second is about conditions, whatever conditions you want to put in that formula. Now there's one thing important to understand. You might have multiple kinds of condition. You might have just one condition that I want, maybe I want the category only where electronics product we have sent. You just want to see that data. So in that way, you just have one condition. You might have multiple conditions, that I want to put some condition on category, then I want to put some condition on sales, and then region. So you might have multiple conditions. Then you might have a bunch of conditions and you want either of them to be satisfied, then you are okay with the data. So you can have that kinds of condition as well. So that's why on the basis of how many varieties of conditions we can get, I have created separate tab, and we are going to learn all kind of conditions you will encounter in your work journey or in your personal life as well. So first things first, let's start with a single condition, a very simplest one. We are just going to filter the data as per one condition. Okay, so let's start. Our condition is show all West region records. So your manager wants to see only those sales which have come from West region. So first let's look at the data. We have a column as a region, and I can see that there are few sales which are coming from West region. So these are the kind of rows your manager wants. So what will you do? You will just start writing filter formula. Is equal to filter, right? Again, Google Sheets started helping you with the arguments. So the first is range, as we just discussed. We'll go back to the data sheet and we will select from A till H. Okay, first argument done. So remember, in this case, we have just one condition, and the condition is the region should be West. Fine. So the region is what? C column. Just select the C column is equal to what it should be. You can just write West. Let's see. That's it. You got all the rows. We can tell your manager that we have 8 sales which is coming from this West region, and this will be useful as well when it comes to decision making. So now tell me, which one is better? You go here and you search manually that okay, this is West, this is West. That's complete waste of time. Or you just write a simple formula and you get all the West region sales in one tab. Simple, right? But this is a very simple condition that I just told you. Let's move towards other conditions. So here, the second condition is not a text kind of condition, it is a numeric condition. Again, you just have one condition, but that one condition contains numerical value. What is that about? It says, I want all the sales which is greater than 5,000. So what we'll do, we'll start writing filter formula. Let's start writing. Start filter. Okay. The first argument is range. Now we'll go to A to H, but I do not want my results to have headers in that. That's why I will quickly include A2. So I want the data set to start from the second row of the A column, because we have day as a header, we have date, customer name, region, and so, and the place where I want the result, I have already given the header's name, so I do not want headers to come. That's why I just wrote A2. Okay, so I mentioned that I do not want headers to be included in my result. Now we have second argument as condition. Now what was our sales column? It is F. Again, I do not want this sales header to be included in my result, so I'll just give you F2F. So now that will, right from the second row of the F column, it will consider the whole F column. What do I want? I want this to be greater than 5,000. We got it. Simple, easy, and quick fix, right? Now let's move forward the multiple conditions. Till now, we just saw a single condition. In first condition, you saw the sales which are coming from West region. In second condition, you saw the sales which are greater than 5,000. Now, you must have noticed that in both of these cases, there's one thing common, that you have just one condition applied. What if you have multiple conditions? How are you going to handle that? Let's understand. So our second question is, we want all those sales which are coming from North region and the sales amount should be greater than 4,000. So the two single conditions that you saw previously, now we are going to combine it together. Let's start writing the formula. Filter, then we have range, A to AH. Then condition 1. What is that one first condition? The condition first was the region should be North, okay? And the region column is C. So we are going to take that, and that should be North, okay? The second condition was the sales should be greater than 4,000. That is going to be, it should be greater than 4,000, okay? Again, let's make that small change that we want. We do not want headers to be considered in our result, so we are just going to put 2 everywhere. So now what's happening? The data range is also coming from second row of the A column. So the C column is also coming from second row, and the F column is also coming from second row. Okay, let's close the parenthesis and see the result. That's it. So we have these many sales which is coming from North, and the sales amount is greater than 4,000. Now you have multiple conditions, but you do not want all of them to be applied necessarily. If one of them is satisfying, you are okay to go with that data. Basically, here we want either this condition to be satisfied or that condition to be satisfied. Okay, so the first condition is region is North or West. So here we want either of the conditions to be satisfied. We are going to write filter formula. Okay, and we are going to select the whole range, and then the condition 1 was the region should be North. Okay, let's give, since now this time we want either of the condition to be satisfied. We do not want all the conditions to be satisfied necessarily. That's why I'm going to start a parenthesis, and the region should be, the region is equal to North. I'm going to close this parenthesis, then I'm going to put 1 plus symbol. Okay, again I'm going to start a parenthesis, and I'm going to choose the same column again, because that's what the region, that's what our next condition is, which should be is equal to West. Now, if you look carefully, you can see all the sales we have received is either from North or from West. So we filtered out correctly. Let's recap the syntax again. What we did, first we selected the data range that we wanted. Then we started a parenthesis because this time we wanted either conditions to be satisfied. We wrote the first condition inside the parenthesis. We closed the parenthesis, we wrote a plus symbol, and then again we started the parenthesis and wrote the second condition. We closed it, and that's it. You got the result. So in case if you have multiple conditions, but your manager wants any one of them to be satisfied, then this is how you write that formula. Let's move forward the next one. Now you handling error. I think we have discussed this plenty of times by now. We have discussed in our VLOOKUP formula, in XLOOKUP formula. Again, we'll discuss here. Because getting error while writing the formula is the most inevitable thing and you cannot avoid. So you have to learn how to handle it and how to, even though you are getting error, how can you make your data look presentable? It should not look that it's not groomed. But let's handle the error. It's very simple. Filter. So first we'll just write the formula that we want. It says the category should be appliance. Okay. But the first argument is always the data range. Okay. Now, where is the category column? Category column is E, and what it is asking, it's asking appliance. Unfortunately, we do not have appliance as category in our sales data. That's why we started getting error. So what are we going to do? We are going to add that smart function called IFERROR. IFERROR has always saved us. If you remember, go back, watch the VLOOKUP video where I have talked about IFERROR, right? So for IFERROR, this whole thing will be value, and after that you are going to give that value IFERROR. So if this form, the value is giving me error, what I want to be shown there. So I want to show something, I want to show a text which says that no records found. Yes, so you got that? So if you see in our data, we just have two categories, electronics and furniture. So we do not have appliance as a category. That's why your formula was throwing an error. But now that error does not look good. That's why we used a function called IFERROR, which will handle the error, and instead of that anything, that will show something which is more professional and which is more presentable. That was it. Now let's go to real life example. I just, whatever we wrote right now, whatever conditions I gave right now, those were also real life examples only. But I wanted to show you how can you deal with dates, because dates are the conditions which actually confuse people. So let's understand the question. We want to see the sales between 1st January 2025 and 31st Jan 2025. So basically we want to see the Jan sales data. So what are we going to do? We are going to write the formula. Filter the whole data range, which is from A to H, okay, and then which is the date column? Date column is the A column. We are going to select the whole A column, then we are going to write greater than, what did we want? We wanted January 1st 2025, okay. We cannot just write that January 1st 2025 in formula. You have to actually give a formatting to that date, because you have to be very sensitive and very careful while dealing with dates. They can actually mess the whole formula. For that, to give a correct format to my date, we are going to use the date function. Inside that, you see, it's already giving us hints that you have to write the date in first year, then month, and then day. Fine, we are going to write date. We are going to write year. What was our year? 2025, comma. What was the month that we wanted? January. And where do we want the sales should start from? 1st January, right? So first again. So what is it? 2025 January 1st date. So what are we actually writing? We are writing the date should start from 1st January 2025, okay, and the date should end till 31st January 2025, right? That was the purpose of this filter. So we are going to write the second condition, and we are going to choose this column again, and should be less than. Means we want to see the data till 31st January 2025. We do not want the further data to be shown. Okay, so this column, again we are going to write a date function to convert that date into proper format which is readable for Google Sheet. Again, 2025 should be year. What should be our month? Month is still January, but what is the date now? We want to see the data till 31st January. So the day will change. That's what we wanted, right? Let's enter. Let's see. 3rd Jan, 5th Jan, 7th Jan, 9th Jan, 11th Jan. Until 29th Jan. So we do not see data from any other month. For your clarity, let's again recap the formula. Okay, we wrote the filter, and then we took the range of the data we want to filter. Then we wanted to put a condition on date. Okay, for that, first we selected the date column, which was A column. Then came date. We wanted to ask Google Sheet to show only that data which is greater than 1st January 2025. That's why we gave a date function, and we gave the date in a proper format, which is year, month, and date. And again, since we wanted two conditions, so if you remember the first time when we wrote multiple condition, we just gave a comma in between and we wrote the second condition. Again, date, and inside that year, which is 2025, 1, which is Jan, and then 31st, which is our date. And enter, we got the data. That's it. So simple it was, wasn't it? I want you to go back and practice again, because just watching video will not do. And I hope you understood how to filter the data. So next time when your manager asks you to filter out few data from a big chunk of data, you do not need to panic. Just watch this video and practice on your own. So yes, study hard, practice on your own, and we'll meet in the next session.